Hi, I'm Paul from Test Data Services, and I'm now going to step through some key calls to help you with OpenID Connect. Now, OpenID Connect is not a simple concept to grasp. Involves quite a steep learning curve. So I'm splitting this into two videos. The first is going to use what we call the implicit flow, and it will introduce some of the key concepts like JWTs, how to look at them. And it will involve fetching a simple identity and doing some authorizers and adding a simple scope. So let's just make a start. What I suggest you do is download or import into Postman on your desktop this OIDC tests collection and then step through it. So you might want to watch this video once, then watch it again while you're using your desktop. I'm only using the first few calls in this particular video. But what this will do is, in this case, is we will register a new application. So everything in OpenID Connect is based on this idea of a client ID. A client ID has a random series of characters to identify it, has a secret for non-implicit flow interactions. We specify an expiry time when we set it, and that's 300 seconds or 5 minutes for a token that's issued. We're allowing refresh tokens, and we have a refresh expiry time of 1 hour. That means we could issue a token with this setting, and then 7 minutes later, if we tried to use that token, it wouldn't work, but we could issue a refresh token if we had the refresh token code and redid it. But we would only be able to do that for an hour. And that's actually one of the ways that OpenID Connect allows you to re-authenticate without putting your credentials in. It's very nice. So if we register first, now we're going to grab an identity. So in this case, we've grabbed William Clement. And now we're going to push this identity. Because in OpenID Connect, like if you sign in with Google, the app that you want to sign in with Google with knows nothing about how you're signing in with Google. A separate window will come up on the browser and let you interact with the Google system to do the sign-in. The system you're testing won't know anything about that. To make it possible for these calls to be used, we have this concept of pushing an identity. Now I can peek just to check what my identity is, and I've got one, and this is the next one. I can then hit authorize and get my OpenID Connect response back with a token. That token is like credentials that gives you access to whatever the scope was. So if we look at this, this ID token, I can copy the whole thing, and I can go to a website called JWT.io, and I can paste it in. Now when I paste it in, we will see all these claims here. So it was issued at 9:13 and 27 seconds, which is about right because it's now 9:14. And it's going to expire 5 minutes after that. Its name is William Clement. It's got email verified, and that's the email address. The JWT is split into 3 different sections. They're all just base 64 encoded. The first bit tells us the key ID and the algorithm for signing. In this case, OIDC2 is the key ID. Now to find that key ID, you can go to testdataservices.com.au, go to the white paper, go to page 22, and here is that key ID. And it's a 4080 or 4K RSA public key. So if you put that key into, JWT.io down the bottom here, which is where I pasted it, then it will tell you that this JWT is verified if the signature matches. So basically, all these claims are cryptographically secured. There's no way you can make a change over here and try and change a value and keep everything lined up. It won't validate. So this is really great. JWTs are really great when they're secured this way because you can have complete confidence in this without having to go back and verify with the server. So there's quite a few implications for workload as well. Like these are much more scalable ways of authenticating and verifying things. So that's the authorize step. Let's grab another person and let's push that identity. Or what was that person? This is Robert Burgess. Let's push that identity. And now let's add a new scope, a simple scope. So this is going to add a key of employee ID into the claims section of the JWT with a value of B93 and so on. So now when I do an authorize, we get a new access token back. And if I if I copy this access token, copy, and I paste it over here, now we can see it's Robert Burgess, and all of the claims were the same as before, but now we have this employee ID. So some of the calls, which I'm going to go through in the second video, have much more sophisticated ways of managing this payload of claims. So that will be good to go through. Now what we can do is we can do another peek. Like in the other videos for email, I've got this notion of pushing, popping, and peaking so that you can actually manage a set of user IDs and cycle through them. So we've pushed 2 identities, we've used 2 identities, so we've got none left. That's why peaking is resulting in this fail. But what we can do is just recycle. Now if we recycle, we've got those same 2 identities all over again. Now if we pop, we can see this was the first one. You might choose to do this if you have a bunch of identities, but you want your next test case to only do a female over 25 or a male under 25 or some criteria that you've got in your data that you want to check. Then you could, or maybe an underage person, whatever the deal is, you can step through and find out what the next one's going to be to see if you want to use it or not. And if we do another pop, then obviously it's not going to be there. Now we can get a refresh token. So this refresh token is going to pass in this value of CZBV. Now where we got that from is the last authorize. We got this CZBV back from our authorize call, which is an implicit flow call that gave us a refresh token. And when we get that refresh token and we pass in that value, we will get a new token. Now this new token will have all the details of the old token, except that it will have an updated issued at time, which is 9:18:23 seconds, which is correct, and an expiry time 5 minutes after that. So this is a quick view of the first stage of OpenID Connect for your test automation. So you can view testdataservices.com.au as a type of OpenID Connect mocking service where it has millions of identities that you can work with those identities. You can exchange emails with those identities. You can store data against them. You can tag them. And you can share them, which is really useful. But you can also do sign in with, instead of Google, sign in with Test Data Services. What you have to do is set your endpoints for verifying your signatures in your app to have that signature, which I showed you. And you've got to set the authorize call. You've got to set the endpoints to the endpoints that we're using here to be able to work. But if you do that, then it will produce these tokens that will work because they are OIDC compliant. So I hope this is a helpful introduction to OpenID Connect to facilitate automated testing of OIDC type apps. Second video will have quite a lot more detail. So in a few minutes, you can look at that. Have a great day.